Well, it is 3 o'clock. Maybe we will get started. Thank you all for joining us. This is kind of a test run of something that the Task Force for Student Mental Health was throwing around a little bit, and that the provost also thought, we should really continue these talks that we have started through the summit. And we've got all of this professional expertise pooled in our faculty and staff. And we also have all of our sort of personal expertise and our lived experiences and things we could share. And so we thought coming together today, we would start out with a topic not so near and dear to our hearts, but unfortunately ever present, COVID. And so we're all dealing with the hopefully winding down process, but who knows how long it's going to be that it winds down. And so we wanted to just talk about some of the different aspects, the way they're hitting us professionally and the way they're hitting us personally. And so before I get started, I'll just kind of introduce my co-panelists today, but I just also want to invite everyone on the call today. I would like this to be really informal. So please feel free to unmute and jump in or to put something in the chat. And Michael's going to help with the chat. And so I know he'll interrupt us and read questions as we go. But please just feel free to jump in and, offer your own experience or ask questions or. So first off, I am joined here today by Beth King. Beth, do you want to just introduce yourself and say hello? You're muted, Beth.
So that's a good introduction. I'm Beth. I'm in Christine Eland College of Nursing, associate professor, coordinator of the Psychiatric Nurse Practitioner program.
So she is, she's stellar. She has the background in all of the biology, but also the background in so much of the psychology and psychiatry that's going on right now. So I'm really grateful to have her. And Kim Dunn. Kim, you want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kim Dunn. I am an associate professor in the School of Accounting, and I come around to be the accounting professor who pretends to have feelings. And just so that everyone is, in the spirit of full disclosure, I took Myers-Briggs twice and scored 0 on feelings both times. True story.
I did not even know that was possible. Now I do.
Maybe it was an error in the tabulation. Because Kim, I've met you. I think you have feelings, great feelings.
I just don't make decisions based on feelings.
That's okay. I'm good with that. But I'm pretty confident you've got some feelings. Emotion is one of my areas of expertise, and I can vouch for you. And we are joined today by Greg Horn from the Counseling Center. Greg?
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Laura. I just took the job here, started onboarding in August. Got my degree in counseling psychology. And so, happy to be here talking about some of these things. We're all kind of going through it. So I'm looking forward to learning from other folks and sharing kind of taking sort of a perspective of, I'm working with students all day. So kind of get how that's going and then share some things that might be helpful.
Terrific. Okay, and last but certainly not least, Robin Rubin. Robin.
Thanks, Laura. So I'm an instructor in the Sandler School of Social Work at FAU, and I teach social work and positive well-being, and I also am involved in our Center for Happiness and Life Enhancement, where we offer all kinds of self-care workshops, self-care meditation, self-care yoga, all kinds of self-care for free at FAU. And that's why I'm here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Terrific. Well, I thought we would start out today and I would just share an experience of mine that I had over break that is probably going to resonate with a number of you. My kids had a COVID exposure while they were over at their dad's house. Their aunt visited with symptoms, but having not gotten tested. And so they were with someone who had COVID for, a few days kind of on and off before she got tested and they discovered that she had COVID. And so I needed to really become an expert very quickly in what to do about getting them tested. And so I wanted to share with all of you, I'll put it in the chat. There's a really spectacular New York Times article that came out in January. So for those of you with kids who have not yet needed to get them tested or may need to get them tested in the future, where as we learn more and more, this article gave really a whole rundown in layman's terms about what to do and how to think about it and what the issues are. But what I wanted to talk a little bit about today was the psychology side of it. And then fortunately, I've got Beth here to cover anything else that we need to cover. But for my side of it, one of the things that I learned as I did the research was that for kids and for even teens and adults with special needs, there are some things that we can do to make testing go a little bit smoother, and they are called social stories, where we essentially, at a developmentally appropriate way, talk about what is going to happen. And so I found some really nice ones that I ended up using for my daughter, who is 8, and my son, who's 11, and they didn't really need them at probably the level that I used them. That were maybe a little lower level, but if you've got some littler kids, I'll just kind of also put in the chat so that you don't have to do the work that I did, just to know kind of there's really easy ways of talking about, okay, it's gonna, there's gonna be something in your nose, it's gonna feel a little weird, it might tickle, it might be uncomfortable, but it shouldn't hurt, and you're gonna need to be as still as a statue. And that, my favorite social story even has a picture of kind of a very still Buddha statue. And so my daughter loved that, because then she just was sitting as still as a Buddha statue during the testing. And then when we got home, there was a whole other set of issues of, I had bought air purifiers and other things to make it as safe as possible, and they would wear masks when they came out of their rooms, but they needed to be in their rooms a lot and separate from me because I hadn't been exposed. And until we got their test results back for certain, I did not want to get exposed. And so with them, one of the things that I tried that worked really well is we kind of came up with a fun role-playing game, and I let them, I kind of said, okay, what should we do? Do we want to pretend you're in jail? Do we want to pretend you're on the moon? And they came up with, they wanted to be in a star base and there had been a radiation leak. And so they were in decontamination, and they got really into it and actually helped a lot because they were so into the role-playing game that they followed all of the different rules. My daughter, every time she opened her bedroom door, she would make this hilarious noise as though she was coming in and out of an airlock. It would be a whoosh, whoosh, and she would come out. And they're very into playing this online game Among Us right now, which has little spacemen. So I did a big spaceman with a red kind of X through it and put it on my door so that they remembered not to come in my bedroom and not to go in some of the other places. And they got so into it, my son set up Discord channels so that I could sing them their lullabies at night over their phones. And he figured out how to play a movie that all 3 of us could watch at the same time and comment on all through Discord. And so they kind of became little problem solvers in how to make this fun and how to do this as a family. And so instead of it feeling isolating or scary or upsetting, it helped it to be more of a fun challenge for all of us. And I'll tell you too about one of my personal fails, which was I cannot follow safety protocols after dinner time. I'm too tired. And so I was trying to feed the kids dinner after, outside, and it was, 6:30 p.m. And I'd be trying to eat in one corner of the patio while they were eating. But if they asked for something, I would wander without my mask over near them, and they'd be going, Mom, get away. And so I figured out, next time I do this, I think I'm just going to put food outside their door. Hopefully there won't be a next time. But if there is, I'm not even going to try to do the protocols at night. I'm worthless. I'm just going to stay in my room, have them do what they need with masks on, and that'll be it for us. So Beth,
can I ask, how many days did you quarantine?
Well, we were lucky. and that they were essentially quarantining at their dad's before they came over. So it had been already, I think, 7 or 8 days by the time they got to my house. And they got a PCR test, which also came back negative. So then we didn't worry so much about it. They had a rapid test that came back negative, and then 3 days later, the PCR test that came back negative. So I think we ended up doing sort of by default the full 14 days, but we were only truly pretty careful until we got to, with me being spaced out from them maybe 11 days or so till we got all the results.
So that's a long time for quarantine, isn't it? For any of us, really. Yeah. So I do want to give a shout out to FAU's COVID testing site. Did anybody use it? I mean, we use it. I've used it regularly. I love that site. Convenient, professional, and I love the vets that are there. They're probably National Guard, I believe. But thank them if you go use that site, because they're really doing a service for all of us. So Laura asked me to talk a little bit about what the College of Nursing is doing, and then I'll just add in. So I work with older adults at the Memory and Wellness Center. I'm just going to talk about them a little bit at the end. But for here at the College of Nursing, I think one of the best things we've been doing is that we've been honoring the frontline nurses. All of us have been hearing about nurses. They call all healthcare professionals heroes now. And it probably is one of the first times that nurses have been called heroes. So we are glad to be part of that. But, I'm not sure that it's our profession. And so we love what we're doing. But at the same time, we want everyone to follow the protocol, the COVID protocol. So what we're doing here, we're featuring our alumni and current students that are currently working in the COVID environment. We have them on our websites, and we're trying to put them up on Facebook to honor everyone that's doing that. In terms of our students, the dean connects bi-weekly with them through a Zoom call like this. And we're always surprised the number of students that do get on and talk about the concerns, that uncertainty of clinical settings, whether we're going to be in them or not. They do that at this campus and down at Davie. We also have been doing webinars with our it's a community partner, cross country. So we did a webinar, I really can't remember the date, but it was called Compassion Fatigue. And so it was open to all the nurses in their community and then in ours. So we had a pretty good attendance on that. It was well done, and the links available on our website. The other thing that all of us are doing, I know we're all doing this, is trying to maintain the traditions that we have in our colleges. So we have the white coat ceremony coming up, and trying to make it as special as it is in person. We're also connecting with our broader caring community, in that we're inviting students and faculty to attend what they're called monthly virtual journal clubs. And they're across worldwide, people join, caring scholars, and present topics related to caring. And so students have been attending, and it's been really nice for them to connect across worldwide, really. We also been doing
Beth?
Yeah.
Would that be something, the compassion fatigue seminar, would that be something that would be appropriate for folks not in nursing? Because I feel like the faculty I've talked to, we're all suffering from compassion fatigue.
Yeah.
We all are surrounded by students that need more than ever before and are asking us for far more than ever before.
No, absolutely. It's like overwhelmed. It's not just healthcare, it's all of us. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It was a good workshop. Mm-hmm. And then we also have been doing, we have a self-care workshop coming up next week. And I think it is limited to the College of Nursing students and faculty, but it's our on self-care, and it's our Sigma Theta Tau. Our honor society is putting it on. So it's everyone from here, Palm Beach State and Broward State College. So all of the nurses in those communities are invited to that. And then we do have another great thing on our website. It's the Initiative for Intentional Health. They have been putting up small, their virtual PowerPoints, really, I've listened to several of them. One is what to do if you have COVID-19. And it's pretty simplistic, but I think you'd like it in terms of students really. It would be good for all students. Introduction to caring for self during a pandemic, and then the power over worry. They're 5-7 minutes long, so they're easy to watch, but I think they've been pretty beneficial. If I want to go, then if I can, Laura, do you mind if I talk a few minutes about caring for older adults? Because all of us probably have older adults in our family settings. But so during every therapy session I've been holding, their main concern for the last 2 months has been whether they can get a vaccine and the difficulty in getting vaccines and the celebration that we have when they do get a vaccine. But some are, they really were in a panic state about getting a vaccine. What's going to happen if they can't get one? And the inability of, the computers that they'd have to manipulate to get online to do it. Some of them were having to just do phone calls, and they couldn't get anybody to answer the phone. And then registration at 6 a.m. in the morning to get on the Publix. Was it Publix? I think it was Publix. It's pretty insensitive for older adults to get up at 6 and then try to get online. So I was, and the panic kept escalating. So by last week, they were several of them were really in a panic mode about whether they were going to be able to get a vaccine. And, I see that with staff here too, faculty and staff, the faculty that are over 65 and did not get the vaccine here at FAU yet, but they were very anxious and still are about being able to get a vaccine. So, and then some did get the vaccine, and at one site in particular that they're not doing, Pfizer is 3 weeks wait, and then Moderna is 4 weeks. Well, at one site that I'm aware of, they are extending the Pfizer to 4 weeks. So there's been a little anxiety related to that. So anxiety levels are really, really high.
Do you have suggestions for what we
tell them? Well, we get, we go through all the techniques, heart math. I'm a certified heart math trainer, so I've sent out a lot of the tools by mail to the older adults to use, and so we go through the breathing exercises with them, and then a lot of it's reassurance that they're following the COVID-19 rules. They're going to, if they follow those, wear a good mask, they're going to be fine. They should be fine, and that they will get vaccinated is what I reassure them. We will be able to give them vaccinations. I was hoping, and I don't know, I don't know who's all on this call. I was hoping that FAU would offer it to our older adults at the Memory and Wellness Center, but that has not occurred yet. But it would have been a nice gift to them. But I know vaccines are limited. It just is what it is.
Be nice if we got there, though. That would be great. So I'm hearing you say kind of reassurance, reminding people of factual information, helping them maybe with I know some of my friends and family have just also helped the older adults with the technical side of it, that they've just said, I'm going to get up at 6 with you and be on the line to see if we can get you in. And
yeah, I was really surprised about that insensitivity towards, the lack. Not everyone has computers,
right?
Even in a pandemic. Not everyone has it. And so I was surprised at that. But I do want to say that we, here at FAU, we have been able to vaccinate all of our students that were going to go into clinical settings. So that has been a blessing, and their associated faculty with them. So that's been great.
Oh, and I just see Alan put in National Association of Social Workers has a self-care and COVID site. So thank you, Alan, for putting that into the chat. And Marianne was saying, I don't know if you want to comment on this, Beth, but Marianne Porter put in the chat that some have decided to skip getting a vaccine. Have you run into that, and have you been able to sort of offer some advice or education?
Almost every older adult, I guess I had one this morning, but almost all of them want the vaccine. And then even the ones that are a little hesitant, when you communicate with them about, about the vaccine itself and offer the reassurance, tell them I've had it, everyone, all of us here at the College of Nursing are getting it. Then they want it. Then they want to sign up and get it. But what you have heard, and you do hear it from nurses, we were surprised that I'm hearing it from nurses. And it was on TV this morning. Younger nurses are worried about the fertility. I'm not exactly sure I don't know where that came from. They hadn't really done the testing in relation to fertility. But what we do communicate with them is if you're in a high risk area, the risk of COVID-19 and experiencing it and death, it would be much worse than anything else. So, and a lot of nurses are in those high risk settings. It isn't mandated yet, which is kind of interesting for nurses to take the vaccine, because the flu vaccine has been mandated in a lot of agencies and settings. But I think it's just new, so they didn't mandate it yet.
So that would be
Hi,
your
this is-
prediction. Yeah.
This is Kim. Just another thing about caring for older adults. My mom, because of her own lack of good judgment, developed COVID. And my reaction was anger at her. I was so upset with her that she would put herself in a situation where she was almost certain to get exposed. And she has so many comorbidities. She's over 75. She ended up in the hospital. I just knew my mom was going to be one of the numbers on the television, of the deaths. And fortunately, she recovered. She's back home. She's back to normal. She's registered to get her vaccine. But that was a horrific experience to go through with my mom.
It is very scary, wasn't it? Yeah. And, on the other hand, the isolation has really been hard on all of us, but really on older adults, especially anybody with any cognitive impairments. It really has been, it just has been really hard for them.
Yeah, I think that is hard. We have to all sort of manage that sort of the risk profiles on the physical COVID side, as well as the psychological, social, emotional risk profile on the other side, and find creative ways of trying to manage that and try to have some interactions that feel meaningful to each
Yeah.
of us.
I'm so thankful that FAU says you have to have a mask on the minute you leave your car, versus I wish they would say that everywhere, but they don't. And then I wish everyone would wear a good mask. I see a lot of masks that really aren't sufficient to prevent the spread, especially with the new mutations that are coming around. So here at our college, we use those. We've given out the KN95s, which are pretty good. I don't know if we're doing that in every college, are we? No, we're not. Oh.
I think a lot of us are responsible for getting our own. But then also at my college, I'm teaching remotely this semester.
I thought maybe social work. Robin, do you know if you're giving all of your students KN95s?
I haven't heard that. I mean, I'm not on campus, no, but
Yeah.
I have not heard that.
Yeah, because we've all been reading the papers about what masks we should take, which ones are the best ones. But some of those thin ones that probably a lot of people purchased at the beginning are not very useful. They might look good, but in terms of spread.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what we're doing here at the college.
Thanks, Beth. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll look and throw in the chat in a minute too. The College of Engineering did really spectacular demos of different kinds of masks and visualizations of how well they worked. And so I sent those out to all my students, and I send them out each semester now. I sent them out at the beginning of this semester as well, because I think it's nice to let them know, not only is this, this is coming from FAU researchers, but it's also just very seeing is believing. So the
Yes.
mask
And they give a shout out to them. They actually produced our first face shields. So they put them together, and we were able to give those to students last spring. We still use them. Yeah.
I love it. Yep. Everyone relying on their different expertise. So I'll turn now to the accountant who's pretending to have feelings. Kim, tell us a little bit about your experience of COVID. You and I were talking about this the other day, and we thought this would sort of be a good broader conversation to have about what it's like to be a professor during these times and what's good and what's bad.
Well, I have learned that I'm not as extroverted as I thought I was. I have really come to enjoy my bubble and not needing to make excuses for why I don't want to do social things. I just don't because, COVID. And I live in my bubble, and I'm able to work without shoes on in my leggings and just, put on a decent shirt. I drummed up the courage to go platinum blonde since I was living in my bubble. I'll turn off my video. So those of you who don't know, that's what I used to look like. The pearls, then the nice hair and the suit. But now I have on a sweatshirt, leggings, and socks. And I'm comforting my little guy, Marcus, because he just had emergency surgery and he's blind now. And he has 10% chance of regaining his sight. So it's been a tough time, but because of the COVID, I'm able to kind of blend my personal and my professional life. And I'm here working and doing what I need to do, but I'm also taking care of, this little guy who's very important to me. And just the anxiety of going back to the old normal where I have to get up and shower every day and put on shoes and drive to work and be around people and be pleasant when I don't want to be pleasant. I don't want to go back to the old normal. I feel so much anxiety about going back to the old normal. Here, I can put on my computer and I can get work done, and it's great, and I'm enjoying life and finding really cool ways to be productive all day, every day. But it's been since the vaccine is coming out, I know that this is coming to an end, and I don't know what the new life is going to be like. So that's my anxiety right now. Not only am I struggling to have feelings, I am struggling to convert from an extrovert to an introvert and stay here. And I guess I guess Greg's going to analyze me later and label me as having social anxiety. but I'm just, trying to make this as real as I can, being this, normal person over in the School of Accounting that's going through this stuff.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think I'm glad you shared that, because I think that's for a number of us, faculty and staff, I think we have so far fewer social interactions than normal that it is easy to slide towards social anxiety. And I certainly worry about that for my students as well, that it feels harder and harder to coax them to participate, harder and harder to coax them to turn their monitors, their video on. And so, yeah, I think with the social anxiety, just even now on a day-to-day, am I going to say the wrong thing? Am I going to do the wrong thing? And then longer, what's it going to be like? And so, Greg, do you want to analyze her, diagnose her, we'll label her?
Yeah, I'd love to. I love giving no diagnoses. That's one of my favorite diagnoses to give. It's like, when people come in so scared that they have, antisocial personality disorder, and I'm like, nope, you don't. It sounds like you're enjoying your circumstances and you're feeling anxious about going back. I mean, yeah, adjustments. That's what I would say.
And I would say, Kim, some of the normal today will continue. We're going to be wearing our masks for a long time. Social distancing, probably.
Greg, to what extent are you hearing concerns like this from the students?
Yeah, well, so it's funny because, the students are not necessarily saying that they are cooping up. They're not as cautious as probably most of us are, and you all probably know that. There are some, and I think it's the things that I'm hearing from students most is concentration, and just not feeling that same level of connection. I mean, being around peers is still super important, and they're just not feeling that that's the same kind of thing. So the kinds of things I'm working with them is hearing lots of imposter syndrome, kind of like it doesn't feel like I'm in this position, and I'm do I really deserve to be here? It doesn't feel like this is legit. So working a lot in terms of and this is something we can all benefit from, just self-talk and understanding how we're speaking to ourselves. Are we using extreme language? I always do this, I never do that, I am so lazy, sort of over-identifying with how they're feeling. I think through these changes, a lot of that anxiety is, I'm hearing a lot of that. So yeah, helping them to kind of recognize how they're thinking and sort of taking a cognitive approach can be helpful sometimes. And yeah, so just, and then sort of also looking at it as a way of, are there different ways of approaching things, like the roles that students have found themselves in? Like I have lots of LGBT students who are living with their parents who are homophobic, and they are making comments, like biblical comments about, their sexual orientation, and they just are not, they've been in college for a while, then they're going back, and so they really can't have the same relationship that they had. So they're really having to renegotiate their role and their identities and who they are. So even though it's a challenge, it's also in a lot of ways an opportunity for them to step out of their comfort zone and have maybe some difficult conversations about identities with their family, or not. It's up to them. I want to empower them to make those decisions, but it is a potential opportunity to kind of think about different roles that they can play and how they can step out of that. I know that, oh yeah, go ahead.
Greg, I was going to ask if you're getting a lot from students in terms of economic stress, both from their family, parents are having lost their jobs, and the students are losing their jobs because restaurants aren't open, those kinds of things.
Yeah, I've had several students that are in a not such a great living situation because they can't afford to be somewhere else. I had one student, their parents brought in one of their friends who has a baby, and then she lost her room. So she had to live with, her choice was to live on her couch or to live with her boyfriend who, and then there were lots of problems going on with that dynamic. So yeah, I mean, they're faced with a lot of difficult decisions. So I think housing is a big stressor, and I think so. Sometimes we're doing that's kind of the first thing we're working on is to get them connected with some resources because we can't really do much therapy work until their housing is stable. So yeah, I find myself moving in more of a relying on a lot more folks. From Robin's field, from social work, and getting resources out in the community, and that's been really important lately. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'll just remind folks too that we do have Beyond Food, our food pantry at FAU as well. So, and the Dean of Students Office will help write any of the concerns about students like that. And you can Google FAU report and put in a report not only about sort of student behavior concerns, but also about just general concerns about students reporting not having housing or having unstable housing or not having food or that kind of thing. And they will help reach out to those students and help them, because I think that's a serious problem. And like you said, it's hard for us to teach them when they don't have the basics met. It's hard for you to do higher level psychological work with them when they don't have the basics met. And so we've got to make sure as much as possible we get them hooked up to those resources so we can then help them move forward, for sure. Yeah.
Do we have a food pantry at FAU?
Yes, we do.
We do. I didn't even know that. Okay.
I'll put it in the chat. It's Beyond Food.
Wow.
Our college we have a food pantry. It's better when we're live, but we do bring food and have it in a setting for our students to take if they need it.
For your,
Well, it's probably for any student that comes into the College of Nursing. I mean, it's there. Yeah.
that's great. No idea.
Yeah, well, that's partly why we do this, right? To share what are our concerns and what do we have for them. And so I put that in the chat, the Beyond Food, and there's a link right there. So if they can even just click the link to request assistance as well.
Anybody can go to Boca Helping Hands Monday through Saturday and get a free lunch. Hot lunch.
And we do have a treatment coordinator that, stays connected with community resources and things like that. So if you don't have any idea how to help some community resource, Winnie, there's a good chance that Winnie might. And so you can, send a student to have an appointment with just a one-time appointment with her to connect with some community resources.
Well, we've got some other amazing resources in Rubin Center. So Robin, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. But definitely first, we have to make sure our students have food and that they have a roof over their head, because we can't, meditation, yoga, workshops, that's all fine and dandy if you have a roof over your head and food in your tummy. But if you don't, those are the first things that we need to deal with. And I feel like right now, there's a lot of students that are really struggling. Like, they're struggling for the food and for the housing, and therefore, like, when they come to class, even via Zoom, and you could, sometimes I get papers turned in of. Actually, last week I was talking about resilience in class, and some of these, when in your life have you been resilient? And the stories that I'm getting, and a lot of them relate to the past year of, several family members passing away from COVID, them losing their jobs. I mean, we have so much more to deal with now than we ever did before because of COVID. So, it almost feels a little silly to talk about what we do, in the Happiness and Life Enhancement Center, because we got to take care of these other things first, which I guess we're trying to do. But like Greg is saying, do therapy if the kid is like living in their car, and showering at Walmart maybe. So anyway, but what we are doing is we are offering several meditation Zoom during the week. Everything is free. We have one yoga class a week. We've been doing special workshops. So we did one on meditation a couple of weeks ago. Last week we did one on financial self-care, and got a really big response to that one. And next week we have one on healthy relationships. Then we have one on nutrition in March, and we're also probably bringing another one in, which I feel like we probably need to do sooner than later, on emotional freedom technique, which is tapping, which is something that each and every one of us can do. You don't need any resources, and it's really very effective for anxiety. I don't know if you guys know what it is, but we're going to be offering it probably in April, I think, 50-minute workshop on tapping. And I was just looking at the chat box for a second, but we have a website that you can go to that has all of our offerings and what we're doing. And, you know, I mean, one of the things that I teach a class every week, and one of the most important things that I try to share with my students is that our relationships with other people are our number one predictor of well-being and happiness. And right now, that's kind of where we're all struggling, because we can't see people, we can't see our friends, we can't get together, we can't hug, we can't do these things that, you know, really make us feel good. And I do this every day. I actually spend a little time thinking to myself, who have I not spoken to? You know, because sometimes there's people that you would typically see all the time, and now you don't see them at all. And who haven't I seen that I want to just reach out to? And I'll send a quick text. Do you have 5 minutes, so that I can connect? And I have to tell you, each and every time I do that, like I'll call somebody and I'll text, and do you have a minute? Yes. And I'm not calling for any reason. I just want to say, hey, how you doing? You know, like how's it going? And after, you know, of course they feel better and I feel better. So we have to think of these ways that we can connect in today's world that we didn't have to do before, because we saw everybody, you know, we would like, so I think that that's one of the things. I also think to myself, like in the morning, who can I send like a quick email to? Like, it doesn't take a lot of time, but like, I'm thinking about you. I just want to know, like, how's your mom, or whatever it is. And these things make us feel better, and they make somebody else feel better. So I'm into these like little moments of positivity that like we can kind of link together and make like a happy time.
I like the little moments, Robin, because I feel like we're all spread so thin that if you gave me a big happiness homework assignment to do right now, I would just put it aside and say I'll get to it later, and later would probably not come. But if you give me these little like 2 minutes, 1 minute, a quick text, a quick email, a 5-minute phone call, that those are ways we can connect that don't have to be time intensive, don't have to, but make us feel better. And I was reading really interesting research on just the power of some of these little incidental random interactions that we used to have with one another, just running into someone in the hallway or on the way to your car or what have you, and that those really do boost our happiness. And I think in ways that most of us weren't aware of before this, and now we are missing it, and there's this sense of lack. And I was reading in the chat earlier, Cassandra put in that she was feeling the opposite of Kim, that she said, I realized I'm much more of an extrovert than I ever thought I was. Being cooped up with only my husband for the past year is making me go crazy. I need the human interaction beyond Zoom. And my work-life balance has gotten worse. So, I mean, I would love to hear, Cassandra, if there are ways that you have found that helps with that, but I'd also love to hear from the panel. She's shaking her head. Well, maybe the panelists or other folks on the call can say what some of your social life hacks are that you've been doing that help. Because I'm similar. Zoom does not do it for me. Like, I can 40 Zoom calls does not even equal 1 10-minute in-person interaction for me in terms of how I feel. So how about it, folks? What are you doing? What works?
Well, I'll just say I've tried a bunch of different things and nothing is working. I'm not going to the gym anymore because of COVID, and I can't work out at home. I tried that. It's not for me. I need that gym, you know, the environment of the gym. I'm like, to my husband, I love you, but I'm so over you. And just being at home just with him, and we've started fostering dogs, and that's helped a little bit, but I need the human interaction. Just the laughing with people in your normal setting, like you were saying, I need that in my life, and I don't know how to get that back until we can be back in person.
I also think it's really interesting what Kim was talking about earlier, that we're in February now. So that means that like March is coming up really soon. And that'll be kind of like a year that we've been sort of locked down. And for some of us, it's been a struggle. And for some of us, it's been like, this is awesome. I don't have to freaking go anywhere. And getting back to real life is going to be a whole nother like adjustment again. And that's going to be interesting, to deal with, because there's going to also be anxiety attached to that. Like, I'm not used to getting dressed, and I'm the shirt's okay, but like the pajamas at the bottom, and the slippers. So I never even thought of that, like that when it does go back to quote unquote normal. That was just.
Yeah, so we call it the new.
I think one thing I've tried with students and myself is I've had maybe some partial success, just in terms of movement and getting out, exercising, whatever is fun, just make it interesting. If whatever you can do to make it, if you like rollerblading, go rollerblading. Don't just around your parking lot. If you don't want to be around people, you're going to be much more likely to do that than you will be doing some kind of high intensity workout in your living room. And so if it's fun, if it's interesting, then, I always encourage folks to do that.
Now, good outcome has been that I've learned how to order online from Publix and Fresh Market. So that's been a good outcome. I never would have done that before. Any other good outcomes from?
I think for me, I've gotten more creative about actually pairing my exercise with my socializing. That I'm someone who used to go to the gym. I go for runs in the morning, sometimes on my own, but I do better with the socializing. And I actually had a friend who was stopping by to drop off some things for my kids, and we had the now normal but still bizarre interactions where she put it by the front door and then, stepped back 10 feet and I opened and so we're having this half shouted conversation, but I was in my workout clothes and I had been in my workout clothes for an hour and a half and hadn't done anything. And I just told her, like, I'm having a lazy day. I can't get myself going. And so, so she said, well, I walk my neighborhood in the morning. You can come and walk in the street or we can both wear masks. And so we've been doing some of that where I go with friends for walks and things. And that helps me. The other thing she got me signed up for is really cheesy virtual runs. We're both doing the Conquerors Challenge and we're trying to, get to this destination and we can share our mileage to reach our destination. And then we're going to get these cheesy little medals. And I've decided that that's okay. That like, it sounds goofy and I would have made fun of it a year ago, but I'm not making fun of it anymore. I need it. And I need something different or new kind of every month. What worked for me last month isn't necessarily working for me this month. And so that's tricky. Jenny Bloom, can I call on you? Because you run every morning without fail. Do you have tips for getting up and out?
Yeah, so I found running every morning. I run 5 miles. I didn't miss a day in 2020, but that has been a huge blessing for me because that's just part of my routine and that's been great. But I've also had to, like you say, Laura, have to keep changing it up and doing different things. And so in terms of what they're offering, I've never done meditation before, but I started to do the Thursday morning at 8:30 and Tuesday at 4 or 4:30 meditations with Ellen Rondina last fall, and I loved that. That was great. And then, but I was starting to get, I can't just sit and watch TV at night. So I started to do puzzles in December, and that has really helped. So I'm trying to keep things fresh, and I've done, like you, Laura, they're doing a Florida trail thing where it's a virtual thing, and I, put in my mileage every day there. And so that's, part of my morning routine after I run. And I'm from Illinois, so there's an Illinois Marathon virtual thing, and I enter my stuff there. So it's a continuing process, and I think it's easy to get bored doing one thing. So I've tried to keep doing new and different things, and scheduling time with friends to talk, even via Zoom is better than not making the time to talk. So it's a process.
I have to ask an exercise question because I'm not a great exerciser. Say, Cassandra, did you think about buying the mirror? Anybody buy the mirror yet? You can see I watch TV too much. I've been thinking about buying the mirror.
No, I saw that and that thing creeps me out. I don't want that in my house.
So we bought something called the Tonal, Tonal. It's amazing. That's an amazing, you never have to belong to a gym again. It's classes, it's everything. It's incredible. Tonal. It's different than the mirror. It's more of a piece of, but it goes on the wall also.
Thank you.
Watch a video. I just also want to let you guys know, we definitely next week, Walmart and Sam's Club are both going to be vaccinations, and you're going to be able to register. And I think that a lot, like I know that all of the health, like the social workers can get vaccinated. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you have that kind of, and I don't know what they're going to do with teachers, but I'm guessing if we get a lot of vaccines, it'll end up going towards teachers also. And I also want to just put this out there. Any place that that's giving vaccines, if you're interested in getting a vaccine and you go at the end of the day, I can't count on two hands how many people I know that are under the age of 65 that went at the end of the day to a vaccination site. They weren't pushy, they weren't obnoxious. They just said, in case you have an extra dose, I'm just here so you don't throw the bottle away. And it's more than 10 people that I know. So just FYI, I can put the Walmart COVID vaccine. That's going to be that. I just got something from Baptist Hospital. So that's what, Boca Raton Hospital. So I was just forwarding that over because this is definitely going to be happening next week for people that are interested in the vaccine. There you go.
Here's another great outcome that came out. Is anybody doing virtual visits with their families? Like I have families in Iowa, and my 90-year-old mom, they try to get her on it. So it's been nice to do that once a week or every 2 weeks. I wouldn't be doing that normally. Maybe a phone call, but she can't really hear me. So it's good to visually be able to see us.
I'm just finally catching up on the chat a little bit, and I see that.
Just if I could, I just add on to Beth's comment. So, we never used to FaceTime family, et cetera. That's a new thing, even though the app was always available. But I'll tell you, my wife and I handle it entirely different. So this is personality based, right? So when our kids call on the weekend, I am there. I don't care what my hair looks like. If I shaved, it's just and my wife just turns the phone like this, so it's facing the ceiling. So now the kids always want to talk to me because I'm on the phone with them, and even though she wants to engage, she just can't engage with the camera. So anyway, different perspectives, and sometimes I do find it very taxing. As much as I love you all, enough of these sessions in Zoom, and I start feeling, I don't know, just like I need my own space. So when my family calls, while I feel like that at times, I kind of take that deep breath and say, but this is also helpful for them. And that's so I kind of I get past that. And then I go run like Jenny and get the rest of it out of my system. So anyway, just wanted to share.
Have you seen that great ad on, it's about a son, like a 40-year-old son trying to call his dad on FaceTime, and his father doesn't know how to do the phone. And it's pretty funny. You know, maybe we can it'd be fun to get a lot of those commercials together that are funny in terms of the pandemic times. I'm sure people here could do that. I probably could not, but it'd be fun to do that for our students and for us.
Kind of to add on to those comments, we did start. My family started to do 2-a-week Zoom sessions, and we've been doing that since March. And I agree. It feels like a lot sometimes, and I think at some point I realized it was like a duh moment where it was like, I don't have to be locked in and engaged and like feeling like, because it's Zoom, I have to have like be in the conversation. But at some point it just occurred that, oh, I can just kind of sit back, hang out. Maybe they're there. So it's like we're just hanging out. And that was nice. I mean, we still talk, but it doesn't, just because it's Zoom, it doesn't mean it has to be like this full attention kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I have my brother and sister-in-law in California who they have a 3-year-old and a baby. And so in some ways that forced all of us into that early realization that the 3-year-old was going to be running back and forth and zooming into the camera. And my kids have now figured out that they can call in from their own rooms. And that way they're flipping themselves upside down on the screen and they're putting different backgrounds up. And so it's partly just kind of a kid half play date, and the adults, we don't even try half the time to get in a real sequential logical conversation because it gets interrupted 11 different ways. And so that does take the pressure off too, though. We sit back and it's just sort of half hanging out. And then if my brother and I really need to connect, or I really need to connect with my dad, we do that alone on the phone while I'm out for a walk around the neighborhood or something else. But it helps to not maybe have the bar so high for like your level of engagement, but just to be there and hang out. I've been reading in the chat, people are putting in lots of really great things. So we can probably save these and like link them in some way. If people don't want their things from the chat linked, let us know. But otherwise, I think it'd be really nice for us to be able to save these. Since we've got the provost on the call, Kim, I noticed you were asking for unprofessional attire from now on. And so maybe we could get Brett to sign on to that.
That's a big reach for me personally.
All right. We know you still got to wear ties, but maybe the rest of us will come in PJ bottoms even when things resume.
Yeah, well, you know, that's the thing about Zoom, right? You never know what people are wearing. But Kim has a great group for helping to kind of mentor and support foster students at the university. And it is interesting because the group and the mentors are wonderful, and they dress in a lot of different ways that are comfortable. I'm the dork showing up with the tie, and I'm usually calling in from work and I feel so bad. Everybody else looks comfortable and I'm like this outlier, but I'm still comfortable in my tie.
It's understandable. It's the role. I'm not sure the provost could get away with PJs.
Maybe good masks for everyone at the college, at the university. Free masks, good ones for all faculty and students.
Being an accountant type, there's nothing that's free. So if the provost buys masks for everyone, then someone will be laid off.
You know, it is funny though that the perspective on masks is just so different. One of my favorite masks that I did have was one that had a coral reef pattern on it, but it wasn't sewn by somebody who was necessarily skilled or knew what they were looking at. So all the fish were upside down. So it was my dead fish mask. And I still loved it because it was so bright and cheerful, but other people saw dead fish. So, you know, again, perspective, right, on what makes you happy or not. But, you know, when I see the different styles that people are wearing, I do appreciate very often some of the looks, but I also think that the fabric on those is not necessarily the best. So, yeah, how do you get a good sturdy double mask or setter that is still fashionable? it would have to match my tie or my bolo, right, depending on the day. And we might have different opinions on what's the right uniform mask to wear. But anyway, or certainly open to suggestions, because if this continues, obviously the university does buy masks periodically. And I know that they bought them themed for the fall semester. And if there's a better theme that should be used for this coming fall semester, because we still have to have them, I'd love to see some designs that I could pass on.
I agree, but the masks they're buying are not 3-layer. So they're not.
Yeah, and I don't know what they were, but I think everybody has learned through this that they are probably different, and I'm sure they'll revisit the type that they're getting. Yeah.
I read the Bible, but it didn't meet nursing's requirements.
Well, we've also, we've learned more as we go. I was in conversations over the summer with student government about buying masks to give out to all the students. And we had to go back and revisit it when the new guidelines came out, because we had picked out things that weren't quite working. Well,
over a good one.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I see it's 4 o'clock, so we are out of time, but I just wanted to thank everyone who came, everyone who participated, everyone who put all this great stuff in the chat, and especially our panelists. I know time is short, as we've mentioned, Zoom fatigue is real, and you were all here nonetheless. So thank you very much, and I hope this was useful, and I look forward to seeing many of you, same bat time, same bat channel in a month. So thank you.